What is happening, Austin, Texas? I can tell you that this week's theme is the tale of two tapes. There is a lot going on with buyers and sellers and what's happening in the Austin, Texas market. What goes up must come down, or is it really coming down? With that in mind, let's go ahead and add our guest, as always, Mr. Mark Koretsky of Movement Mortgage. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you so much for having me. And before we get too far, happy birthday, Jennifer. Honorary recording on your birthday. I appreciate you taking the time, bearing with me with my head cold. I'm excited to do this. Let's go.
Hey, I'm just glad you're feeling better. So way to be in there, champ. That's a perfect theme for the Tale of Two Tapes today. So let's talk about what is going on in the Austin market. First and foremost, I like to spout out a few numbers before we go ahead and we dive deep into what the numbers mean and what is happening as it impacts buyers, sellers, investors, and then looking at the economy.
Let's do it.
All right. So for starters, we have topped out of 10,000. We have 10,000 homes for sale in Austin, Texas, which gives us 3.1 months of inventory. Super excited about that. We have not seen these numbers since like 2011.
2011, really? I was going to say like 18, 19.
I don't know if we capped out at 10,000. I'd have to go back and see.
I remember the slowdown back in the end of 18. Rates started creeping all the way up into the fives, and all of a sudden there was less action. So I would have put it on there. But I mean, you looked at the data, and the data, although it does sometimes lie, it does provide us with a lot of insights.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to double check, but I was looking at some numbers earlier and it could have been 2018, but I'm going with 2011 because I know that to be true. Let's do it. I mean, we've had a lot of fluidity in the market, and at the same time, we've had a lot of things that stay the same. And today's theme is the Tale of Two Tapes, which is about, well, you explain it better than I do. Go ahead.
There's so many tapes, and really it's like the buyers and what they're seeing, and the sellers and what they're seeing, and potential buyers, and are they jumping into the market right now, or are they letting fear get the most of them and they're taking steps back? There's so many different things going on. And so I think it's not just a tale of two tapes, it's a tale of all the tapes, and it's up to us to actually digest them and actually be able to articulate them to the consumer and actually educate them on what is actually going on.
All right. So now I'm like thinking tapeworms, and let's get into the wormhole and talk about what some of the numbers mean.
Let's do it.
All right. So we have been, when I said earlier, things change and they stay the same. Here's what's been going on. I mean, I've been reporting this now for months, and today is no different, and of where our homes for sale are landing. And so a third of all our homes remain at 350 to 499,999, right? So just under 500,000. That's 1 in 3 houses for sale in Austin, Texas is between $350,000 and $500,000. 31% of homes in Austin, Texas for sale fall between, oh my God, thank God I get to cut this out. Let's try that again. 31% of all homes for sale in Austin are $500,000 to $700,000. So realistically, that is a good for 42% of all homes in Austin. I'm going to get a little break here. 42% of all homes in Austin are between 500 and $1 million. So that adds, okay. So like, think about it. Like, we're playing in this sweet spot. A third of all homes, 350 to 500, 31% of all homes, 500 to 750, 12% are 750 to $1 million, and another 12% are $1 million to $3 million. So that's some interesting affordability when you think about it.
It really is. And the thing with affordability, it's all relative, right?
Yes.
And so before we started recording, we were looking at this Redfin migration report, and where
do you want to pull that up?
I can, yeah. Let's do it. So as I do that, so I mean, this is part of the Tale of Two Tapes, right? So we've got in Austin, we've got a lot of action going on, but what I to really talk about is these migration markets and the inbound markets, right? You see San Jose, you see Dallas, you see Houston, but then you've got LA, Seattle, Chicago. Yes, we've got San Antonio on there, but New York, Boston, San Diego. These are the top 10 inbound markets that people are coming from to move into Austin. And so you brought up the affordability. It's all relative, right? Because for a lot of the locals that have been in Austin for 20, 30, 40 years, everything looks expensive. But to every single one of those families that's moving in from one of those markets that we just talked about, it's relatively inexpensive, right? And so that's why, I mean, you and I were laughing earlier. We were saying, what was it? Median sales. Hang on, let me find it. Homes sold above list price are down 20%. But no. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Homes sold above list price, 20% of homes are selling above list price.
Right. Which is good news.
Which is great news. But then that's down 27% year over year.
Which was not sustainable given the insanity of the market.
Exactly. And so another tale of two tapes, right? Like the headline is going to read that we're down 27% year over year. In reality, 1/5 of homes probably staged correctly and photographed and actually marketed, selling above asking price.
Right.
That's not what the news is telling us.
No. So that's 1 in 5 houses that are listed and well priced are selling above their current listing price.
But I mean, I'm sure you see it even more than I do, right? But like the difference of these new listings and they're actually getting really good pictures. They're requiring their homeowners to do more work before they list, getting it all nice and ready and presentation ready. And they're going like this because again, you've got buyers that have the liquid money still, and they've been sitting on the sidelines. And so a lot of them, while they've been sitting on the sidelines, they're competing with all of these inbound people. So, I mean, it's crazy to see. As much as Austin is more expensive than up here in the DFW, that's impressive. 20% still in today's market with 7% rates.
Yeah. So now let's look at that, because what's happening is buyers are for the house that's done well, they are willing to pay above asking price. And sellers who are taking the time to get it right are therefore fetching more money in their pocket potentially. And I can tell you that I'm doing this right now with a seller in a $1 million plus home, and we are taking it all of the way. Let's try that again. I knew that was going to happen. What happens when my neighbor comes home every time?
Can you zoom us back in?
You bring up a good point that there's a side of the seller side and there's a side of the buyer side. Now, if a seller is preparing their home well and listing it well at good market rates, then we have buyers that are still ready to pull the trigger, and they're willing to pay more for list price to compete, because whether the headlines read it or not, we still do have multiple offers.
We still have multiple offers, that's for sure. And at the same time, even those buyers that have the money, they're still feeling the pinch, right? And so anytime you still have to sacrifice something, you want something that's really more move-in ready. You want something that you don't need to spend 50 to 100K just to make it a home, right? And so we're seeing a lot of difference between market ready homes, move-in ready homes, and then the fixer-uppers and the TLC needed. And I know you agents love to butter those up, but at the end of the day, like if it's an ugly house, it's an ugly house, right? It's not going to go that quickly. But if you took care of your home, you got a good home to begin with, now is the time for you to actually make a move.
Absolutely. So, and when you're talking about taking care of a home, we're talking really on a number of levels, but just going in most importantly right now is to get if you are considering selling your house, the thing you most want to consider is, what does your deferred maintenance look like on your home for your HVAC, for your electrical? What's your paint look like? Get the house power washed. In fact, I'm actually putting a video out tomorrow called $1 Million Plus Listings and must do's, because right now, if a seller wants to sell their home, everything needs to be done to the best of their ability to make it move-in ready, for sure.
If they want to sell it quickly and for top dollar, go figure.
I mean, we could have gotten away with this. What we could get away with 6 months ago, is no longer the case. And that brings in now the fact that even though we still have 3.1 months of inventory, that is still a seller's market. However, now buyers have leverage that they didn't have in the past.
And I'm seeing that firsthand in contracts getting executed, in appraisals coming back, and a lot of them are coming in above contract price. And so there's money being left on the table, both on the seller side, on the buyer side. And it's up to us to actually help bring together all of that available equity for buyers to use and sellers to capitalize on. There's very little of that being done right now.
You brought up that I'm going to talk about that phrase you just brought up. And when we talk about the tale of two tapes, and that's leaving money on the table. We are in this window right now where we have all these houses that sold, for these crazy numbers, and it's all recorded and they're closed and everything is done. And now those are the litmus, if you will, that appraisers are using for home values. And even if those home values were down, which most of them aren't below last year's prices in Austin, Texas, the values are showing for the appraisals, which means you as a lender can lend out to, the full amount. And buyers are really, at this point, it sounds like not having to worry about appraisals.
They're really not. And now, I mean, they in a way they should be, right? Because like you said, whatever the market value is today, that's determined by comparable sales as of yesterday, right? Or really the last 120 days primarily. And so it's a risk, right? Both for buyers, it's a risk for lenders, because if home values do start coming down, that means these appraisals that we're getting right now are not an accurate depiction of today's market. And so I think there's a lot of risk in real estate in general, but especially in today's market, where as much as you and I are both super confident in the housing market and the stability of home prices, at the end of the day, like, we don't know, right? And like, we have to let world events and US events, especially this election coming up, we have to let these things unfold. And that's really what's going to determine the direction of where we go. And so I think it would behoove everybody to take advantage of that appraisal difference if it's positive. Because here's the thing, equity is 100% theoretical, and it's 100% illiquid until you sell. In Texas, you can only borrow cash out up to 80% of the home's value. And so any equity that is in that house, it feels good, right? Like, yeah, you can add that into your net worth. It feels good. But at the end of the day, it's locked in there and it's unusable. And so a lot of the conversations we're having, especially as we see credit card balances going up for the average American household, as we see, the erosion of our purchasing power with all of our goods, we're seeing a lot of opportunity for homeowners to actually take advantage of that equity. It is more difficult in Texas than any other state. It's one of the reasons why I'm the most bullish on Texas, because we don't let homeowners over leverage themselves. So I think another tale of two tapes, right? Like, if you've got that equity, it feels great. It makes you all warm and fuzzy on the inside. But when you need it, you need it. And so it's better to have access to it before you need it, because when you need it, that's the least likely chance of you actually getting it.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And then also, when we look at the tale of two tapes, we can then look at what that looks like right now for builders, because builders' prices, which were all the way up here, are now coming down because they are leveraged. Their cost of money to borrow is huge. We're in Q4, meaning we've got October, November, and December for them to close out their books, and their cost of borrowing money is high right now.
It is. And that's reflecting in a lot of these incentives that they're throwing out there right now. It's reflective in the lack of new permits that they're actually applying for and the cities are issuing. And so I think the builder business is a super difficult business. There's in my world, there's very little that we control. So we always say control what we can control. But on the builder end, it's exponentially more parties, exponentially more variables. And yeah, supplies are down, but like you said, the cost to actually get these things built, it's not just being done in cash, it's being financed, just one way or another.
Absolutely. And if you are considering buying a new home, I am in contact with those buyers or those builders. If you are considering buying a new home, I am in contact with builders on a regular basis between emails and phone calls and texts. We are consistently looking at what's going on in the market, and I'm on lists, and I'm so ready to help the today's buyer find a new home and close on it. There's so much opportunity. It's exciting for buyers right now. It really is.
It is. And I mean, buying new construction and going from dirt to house and actually being able to move in, like that is a lengthy process. And that in and of itself has created opportunities because a lot of contracts got terminated on these builders. And so buyers that want new construction, they actually may be able to get into it much quicker and with incentives for them to do it. So, I mean, power to them if they're going that route. I think that's an incredible opportunity.
Yeah. And even for investors. So, investors, if you're listening right now, there are opportunities to buy new homes in HOAs that did not exist 6 months ago. So they may not be publishing it, but trust me, with the conversations that I'm having, you as an investor can get into these new homes and then turn around and lease them out. So there is, again, tale of two tapes.
Seriously, because those homeowners that bought that, I mean, a lot of homeowners do not want renters as their neighbor, right? And so those changes and them getting done last second, I mean, I haven't personally run into it yet, but I'm glad you brought it up. Now I'm going to look for it. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy about that.
You are in a higher end, say, luxury area, and you are looking to rent a home, then the potential still exists for issues. However, quite often the people that are getting into these neighborhoods are going specifically because they're coming from the markets that we were talking about, right? The California, the Dallas, the Houston, all of the cities, but they're coming because the school zones. And when you have somebody who's willing to come in and lease and spend, between $5,000 and $8,000 a month on their lease to get their kids in a good school district, there is a level of discretion that is built into the investor's pocketbook, if you will, because these folks aren't moving. It's a school year.
And I mean, anybody that has migrated knows the difficulty and the balancing act of, do you buy, do you rent? Are you going to stay there long term? Do you know that for a fact, or do you think that? And is that actually reality? And so for a lot of people that are migrating, like renting for a year or 6 months or somewhere in between, that is not a bad idea. If they are doing that, they are looking for very much well-maintained properties, right? And so for the investors out there, like, make sure if you are looking at these luxury markets, you're actually then marketing them as a luxury property for rent. You need to put your product in front of the right people, and the people are there. You just got to go find them.
Absolutely. And it is the end of the year. And again, I think builders are going to be closing it as quickly as they can on as many properties that they've been building as they can, and that they are all pushing right now to get as many homes finished and sold before December 31st, 2022. So if you are thinking about moving here and you want to spend the holidays in your new home, there are several really great high-end builders that are pumping out some beautiful homes right now. There's an investor that wants to snap them up and put somebody in there, then I think we're going to see more and more of that.
I'm a little surprised we haven't already seen more of that. We've talked on previous shows that institutional buyers, they're very much backing out right now, or taking steps back relative to what they were doing in the last 24 months. But the mom and pop investors, the power of real estate is still very much there. Again, a lot of homeowners that have been looking at the real estate market, and they have a ton of equity in their property or properties. And now is the time for you to actually capitalize yourself, get yourself ready, be able to deploy that capital when it's the right time for you.
Last week, we actually talked about stress tests on paper and utilizing that versus the real life, so that we make sure that people are putting enough money away, because we don't know where things are going to go for the next 18 to 24 months. We really don't.
We really don't. And I think there's too few professionals that actually talk about that with their buyers. Going back to, when you're a seller, what are your deferred maintenance costs? And have you actually been maintaining the property the right way, your tenure of home ownership? And so I think too few of us are preparing buyers for how much does need to get set aside on an annual basis or on a monthly basis in order to actually maintain your property properly and then be able to actually get top dollar for it once it does get time to rent. Sorry, I said rent, but that is a great option, right? Whether it's to rent the property out, whether it's to sell it, you've got to have a well-maintained property.
That is, again, if you are considering selling, I've got a seller's guide that I give my folks. I go through literally from front to back. I have them meet with my landscaper if they don't have their own. I have them meet with my construction guy who is a handyman who has own portfolio of homes and knows what it takes to get a home for sale ready. I always say to my sellers, never spend a dollar to get the same dollar back. We are always looking to create a space where those buyers who come in and they count in thousands in their head, thousands, maybe they're counting by 5,000 or 10,000 every time, they buy a more luxury property. Like, how can we ensure that if you're spending, say, $5,000 to get all of your property fixed up, what is your net going to be on that? I can tell you it's a heck of a lot more than if somebody walks in and they see that, your landscaping is in shambles, you haven't power washed, your AC is, hasn't been serviced in a gazillion years. Your electrical panel isn't pristine. All of the things need to be done now more than ever.
And they're not cheap, right? You said it without saying it, but at the end of the day, they're crucial. And you got to think about things as a buyer, right? Or with anything in life, you got to think about it from the counterparty. They're walking in, they're literally checking, oh, that entrance and feeling that somebody has, that experience that they're either having or not having, that determines the likelihood that they even look at your home in a realistic light. And so there's so much to that. Honestly, there's so few people talking about it. It's kind of mind-boggling. I feel like that really needs to be what is on the forefront of anybody who's thinking about selling, even in the next 2 years, 24 months. You need to be looking at it now.
A realtor is not talking to their seller about current upkeep and deferred maintenance and what it's truly going to take to sell their current home. I think it's real estate malpractice, quite frankly, because they're going to turn around and they're going to buy with these clients. And then they have to have the realistic discussion of how much did you put into your house? What does that really look like if we're buying this other property or we're not buying this property? And it's up to us as real estate professionals to take that holistic approach, just like it is for you, Mark, when you look at mortgages and taxes and all of the different parts that you look at to escort someone into what their payments could look like, because we're talking about the purchase price, we're talking about the rates, and then we're talking about payments. And under payments, there's all of the things called life.
They all add up.
They all add up. And with that, I hope
we
that
got to get control of our taxes. Well, I'm just going to say, we got to get control of our taxes. Like, it's one of the few times in Texas history we've got a surplus. Now is the time to actually get that money back into homeowners' pockets. We got it.
Okay, can we talk about that next week?
Of course.
Absolutely, because I think we've done a pretty solid job on A Tale of Two Tapes. This week, we've given folks a lot to think about. Where our current houses are for sale and affordability. Affordability is based on a number of things. And we've talked about having the space and time to go look at properties and understand that they're going to be on the market a little bit longer. And there is negotiation room for both the buyer and seller. Because what are you finding out about home values right now, Mark?
Home values are staying up and the actual offer prices are coming down. So there is a lot of unused equity that is being left in homes right now. I don't know about you, but I want to use my equity.
Absolutely. We will talk about that if we are working to buy you or sell you a house here in Austin, Texas, because there's a lot of room. And this is why I like working with Mark, because he thinks holistically about both the buying experience and the seller's experience and how that seller can then turn around and leverage their money. So I really appreciate your time today, Mark.
I am here to be a homeowner advocate, even if that means I can't help. So I appreciate you having me. Hey, Jennifer, happy birthday.
Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.